the biggest one, and I'll just deal with this right away, the biggest one was me knowing that God had called me to the ministry, and then me starting out, even as a child, but then turning around. And the devil and people will help you. Hello, they don't mean anything. Church people, they're good people. They don't mean anything bad, but they will help you stay away from the will of God. Well, did this, did that, cut up. I didn't really do drugs that much, just a few marijuana, just a little bit drinking, but a couple of times drunk. But that wasn't really my cup of tea. Because I exercised so much, play sports, and so that wasn't really where I was. But the other, the sex stuff, that was just a big thing. And I'm not, right? I'm just telling you the truth. So that was the thing where, people, well, when you did all this, you did all that, God could never use you. Because in the church world, in the ministry, there's a different thought. Now, you have to hear this. Most of you are in the ministry, so you don't understand this. But, if you fornicate and you go into the ministry, the church world's going to tell you, well, you ain't God. Yeah, he forgave you, but he can't use you. And, you can buy into that, especially when you go to seminary and you got so many people, they're fourth and fifth generation preachers. They've never fornicated. They've never drunk. They never did any reefer or anything. And you're like, dang, man, I ain't no good, And they didn't turn away from their call and run like I did. They stuck with it because they're fourth generation preachers, stuff like that. And so that was a big area for me. And fear was there because that circumstance kept me from going into the ministry. It wasn't that I didn't want to obey God. Now, I want you to hear this. It wasn't that I didn't want to live for God, but it was that one thing of not doing what God said. And so, again, it took me a plane crash and a bad car accident before I finally said, okay, Lord, whatever you want me to do, I'll do it, okay? And so, again, I understand this. I never condemn anybody. That's why I don't condemn them, because I've been there. Even though you might not be living right, I wasn't living right, but I love God. I wanted to do right. You understand? Yeah. And so for me, I don't condemn anybody. And a lot of people don't understand that. I don't care what you do. God still loves you. And if you got to change, though. He's not going to make you. You have to change. That's the deal. We might not condemn you, but you can condemn yourself because, again, let me read this, and this is where fear goes. It's just really good. Fear is self-induced misery. Fear is self-induced misery. You do it to yourself. And because of the situation, because of what I'd gone through, I put it on myself. I said, God could never use me. How could God put me in the ministry? Nobody will ever come and hear me. Nobody. And I actually believe that. Obviously, I'm wrong, right? Look at all you. You're here. But again, that's what fear does. You do it to yourself. 1 John 4:18, let me just read this to you. Again, let me quote it. Fear has torment. There's torment there. You'll torment yourself because you know what God is telling you. Now, with Jairus and the disciples, did they know what God was saying to them? Hello?
Yeah.
That's one.
Yeah.
Two, me and him say two. That's two of us. Jesus says three. What does everybody else say? Did they know?
Yeah.
Of course they knew. He spoke the word. He told them. He said, "This is. Let's pass over to the other side." Jairus, fear not. I only believe. I'm coming to do it. So it doesn't matter what the circumstances are. That's what I'm trying to get you to see. See, I was stuck on these circumstances like most people. We're stuck on the circumstances. Yeah, God said this, but look what I did do. Hello, that's one. Number two, look what I didn't do. Hello? No, let me say you didn't get it. We're stuck on circumstances like I was. Then also, again, let me just throw this in because this was a thing too. I was a product of a broken home. Well, I had nothing to do with that. But I mean, for me, I felt so bad because I said, well, man, I can't be in the ministry because my dad and mom divorced. That has nothing to do with it. But again, fear came and it made me say, well, no, man, I'm stuck on this one circumstance. Come on now. I know I'm not the only one. That's why God has me doing this. It's real. Your circumstances dictate whether you walk in fear or whether you walk in faith. The thing Jesus says to us is we must rise above those circumstances. See, when people see me now, they don't understand the struggle I had to even get up and go into the ministry because they don't know me. They're like, well, we didn't know you. We didn't see you when you were going through that. But that's where faith comes in. See, Jesus tells us, why are you so fearful? You shouldn't be fearful. Why? Because you can rise above your fears and your circumstances, okay? All right, everybody got that so far?
Yeah.
The problem that we face is that we keep the same company. Yeah, I'm acting great. I'm getting ready because y'all going to sleep on me or something. I'm up here pumped up, fired up. Maybe you're getting it, but I can tell you something. This is what you need. If you want to rise with God, this is what you need to hear. Because when you stay with the same company, they keep you in fear. I had to switch. I love them now. I love them. They're good people. But I had to switch the church out of that Catholicism and get with some people that started saying, God can use anybody. Right. It doesn't matter what you did. It doesn't matter how you been. It doesn't your color, your sex, none of that. God can use your age. God can use anybody. Right. He can change anybody, and it's all under the blood. Yeah. But we don't believe that because we get stuck with the wrong people. Now, can I go deep, or do I need to play with this? Or do I need to sugarcoat it? Come on, y'all tell me. I'll do what you tell me, all right? My family, thanks, man. My family, they love me. They love me. My family loves me. Y'all hear me? They love me. But every one of them, except my two grandmas and my dad, every one of them said, God can't use you in the ministry. Did you hear me? Except my two grandmas, Grandma Whitfield, Grandma Smith, and my dad, who wasn't living right. My dad wasn't living right. He said, son, I see God change all kinds of people. Man, God, he was excited, man. Everybody, they didn't say they didn't love me. Y'all not here. Man, y'all not here, dude. They didn't say it. They do love me. But they said it because they love you. Your past, all the stuff. You're going to get up there. You're going to have an affair. You're going to be an embarrassment. You're going to quit. I'm like, well, I ain't never done that before. Yeah, but you did all this other stuff. And fear came. It gripped me. Let me just read it. Just like he said, it'll strike. Oh, amplify. It'll seize you with alarm, and you'll be struck with fear. You'll be struck. You know what it means to be struck by lightning? You hit hard, man. You're knocked down. You know what it means to be seized, like if the police come and seize you. They got you. You can't move, man. That's the way fear will strike you. It'll grab you, man. You'll be sitting there. I praise God, I love God. Oh, God, no, God ain't with me. Lord, don't you care about me? Lord, what's going on? Oh, my God, this ain't working. In those circumstances, that's where it starts. They were looking at my circumstances. What happened is bigger than them. See, I can't blame them because I listened to them. Hello? 1 Corinthians 15, verse 33. Evil communication. They're not evil people, but evil thoughts, evil words, evil actions corrupt good manners. See, the people aren't evil, but it's the things they're doing, and those things corrupt godly good manners. And so for me, and I know this, I know where it lies. I know where we live. See, I know it. I've been doing this for a while. You got to get away from people like that. Come on. Jesus says in Mark 5, that's why I read it, he told Jairus, fear not, only believe, in verse 36. In 37, he didn't allow anyone except Peter, James, and John. What about all those other people that were with him? Acts 1 tells us there were 120 people that followed Jesus from the baptism of John to his ascension. Well, that means there are 117 people that he said, y'all can't go. But y'all can't go with me. You're not catching it. Because you'll bring up that this is impossible. You'll bring up you're the carpenter's son. You'll bring up you were born a little bastard child. Come on. Can I get deep? Can I play? Can I roll? Can I roll into it? That's why we put the kids in the back. Can I just say what God would say, or do you want me to just fake it a little bit? Yeah, let me say what God. Yeah, thanks, man. You know, because your mama and your daddy weren't married. You know, Joseph was getting ready to kill Mary because she was pregnant. He hadn't touched her. No other. He was like, well, somebody else must have slept with her. That child is important regardless of whether the parents were married or not. No, you are somebody special regardless. My parents, my mother was at, and she won't mind me telling, she'll probably tell you next week when she comes, but she was at NYU full scholarship when black people didn't get scholarships. She got a full scholarship. She's brilliant. And, I mean, you know, she is. Everybody says that. But she left school against my grandmother's wishes her freshman year and followed my dad. He got drafted out of college, followed him to Alabama, got pregnant. I mean, that's, you know, this is real life.